Welcome, everyone. Ready to explore Thanksgiving? I bet you'll be surprised how much there is to learn about this holiday.
You bet. We'll be looking at its history, traditions, and even some controversies surrounding Thanksgiving.
Buckle up, because we're going way beyond turkey and football today. You might think Thanksgiving always landed on the fourth Thursday, but
Not quite.
no. And that first Thanksgiving, well, it might not be the one you learned about in school.
It's a fascinating story, really.
So let's rewind, way before the Pilgrims. Imagine 16th century Texas. Spanish explorers in Palo Duro Canyon.
Led by Francisco Vasquez de Coronado.
Right. And get this, they're holding a Thanksgiving Mass.
In 1541.
1541. Thanksgiving wasn't born with the Pilgrims. Expressions of gratitude for a good harvest are, well, ancient?
And global. Even those early English settlers in Virginia in 1607, they held regular Thanksgiving services, giving thanks for safe journeys and new beginnings.
So Thanksgiving was becoming a tradition even in those early colonies. But here's where it gets interesting, which Thanksgiving is really the first.
The 1621 Plymouth Feast with the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag is the famous one, but
I'm sensing a but here.
there's another contender. 1619 in Berkeley Hundred, Virginia. English settlers celebrated Thanksgiving upon arrival, and they actually included it in their charter.
So it was like official.
You could say that. A strong argument for the first officially recognized Thanksgiving.
Two Thanksgivings battling for the title of first.
Both reflect that deep human need to give thanks, especially when facing the unknown. Even President Kennedy, back in '63, recognized both Virginia and Massachusetts in his Thanksgiving proclamation. He acknowledged that spirit of gratitude in both.
Seems like picking one first
Mhm.
kind of misses the point of Thanksgiving.
I'd agree with that. It's more about recognizing how long these traditions have existed here in America and how they've changed over time.
So from these early celebrations, how did Thanksgiving become a national holiday? I'm guessing it was a long road.
You're right, a long and winding road. The Continental Congress made the first National Thanksgiving Proclamation in 1777, followed by George Washington in 1789.
And then comes Sarah Josepha Hale. Talk about dedication. She spent 17 years campaigning to make Thanksgiving a national holiday.
She was an amazing writer and editor, saw Thanksgiving as a way to unify the nation, wrote letters, advocated, never gave up. But it took the Civil War, a time of incredible division, for President Lincoln to make a decision.
1863, right in the middle of the Civil War, Lincoln declared Thanksgiving a national holiday, hoping to bring the country together, heal those wounds. Amazing how a holiday about gratitude could play such a big part in history.
It is. And then we have Franksgiving.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
1939, President Roosevelt moved Thanksgiving a week earlier, hoping to help the economy during the Depression. Let's just say not everyone was thrilled.
Some loved the longer shopping season, others thought he was messing with tradition. Some folks even celebrated two Thanksgivings, Democratic Thanksgiving and Republican Thanksgiving.
A divided holiday for sure. Shows how important Thanksgiving had become and how strongly people felt about it. Finally, in 1941, Congress made it official. Thanksgiving on the fourth Thursday in November.
What a ride. From colonial feasts to presidential proclamations and even some political drama, Thanksgiving has been through a lot.
Absolutely. And that's just the beginning. We've got the celebrations, the food, the family gatherings.
Stay with us. We're getting to the heart of what makes Thanksgiving special.
There's so much more to Thanksgiving than just the food, though, right? We've got parades, football, even turkey pardons, all these traditions around one holiday.
It's true. But it all goes back to that idea of gratitude. And that's deeper than just, I don't know, piling your plate high with mashed potatoes.
Definitely. For many, Thanksgiving is a spiritual time, a chance to reflect and give thanks for everything. Many churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, they all hold special Thanksgiving services.
And even at home, there's that tradition of saying grace before dinner.
Yeah, just taking a moment to be grateful, appreciate everything, big and small.
It's a small thing, but it really connects us to what Thanksgiving is all about. And then there's that other side of gratitude, the part where you actually do something, the acts of kindness, charity.
Absolutely. It's the time of year when people volunteer at soup kitchens, donate to food banks, helping those in need, making sure everyone has a Thanksgiving meal.
Really heartwarming to see. But let's not forget the fun stuff. Parades.
Oh, gotta have parades. You can't talk Thanksgiving without the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Those giant balloons, the marching bands, the floats, and of course,
Santa making his grand entrance. unofficially kicking off the Christmas season.
Millions look forward to it every year. And it's not just New York City. There are amazing Thanksgiving parades all over the country, each one with its own unique feel.
Philadelphia, Detroit. It seems like everyone wants a Thanksgiving parade.
Yeah.
And of course, football. Almost an American tradition to watch football while digesting all that turkey and stuffing.
You can't have one without the other. The NFL's make Thanksgiving Day football a big deal. The Lions, the Cowboys, hosting games for decades. We even have a primetime game now.
And it's not just the pros. College football has those big rivalry games on Thanksgiving weekend, end of the regular season. Even some high schools schedule their big games then, too.
Thanksgiving and football, they just go together. Speaking of traditions, let's not forget the presidential turkey pardon.
Oh, that's a good one. I love that one. The president pardoning a turkey. It's so quirky. But this tradition has been going on for a while, hasn't it?
Since 1947, the National Turkey Federation has been presenting turkeys to the president. There are stories about Truman, even Lincoln pardoning turkeys, but it really became what we know today with George H.W. Bush in '89.
And now we all watch as the president picks the lucky turkey who gets to live out its days on a farm, not on a dinner table. A little moment of humor. Reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously.
Right, even with all the serious stuff happening, gotta find some joy. But speaking of serious stuff, we have to talk about how Thanksgiving isn't always simple and happy. What about the Native American perspective, how different groups see the holiday?
You're absolutely right. We touched on the history earlier, but it's important to remember that Thanksgiving is connected to the displacement and suffering of Native Americans.
For many, it's a day of mourning, a reminder of the injustices their ancestors faced, the struggles that continue today. They observe a national day of mourning, using it to reflect on their history, call for justice.
It's a powerful reminder that even as we celebrate, we need to remember the whole story, the different perspectives on this holiday.
Absolutely. Understanding the full picture, not just the parts that make us feel good. And it's worth noting that some Native Americans, while recognizing the pain, still choose to celebrate Thanksgiving as a time for unity, coming together.
That's an important point. Within Native American communities, there are many different voices, many experiences. Like Tim Giago, the Lakota journalist. He compared Thanksgiving to the Wopila celebration of the Great Plains tribes, saw a connection in that spirit of gratitude.
It reminds us that there are many ways to understand Thanksgiving, that listening to different perspectives is essential.
We should also mention that some atheist groups criticize Thanksgiving, objecting to the religious language often used in presidential proclamations, how the holiday is presented.
They raise important points about the separation of church and state, whether a national holiday should be so tied to religious expression.
So Thanksgiving, a bit like our nation itself, is made up of different viewpoints, different experiences, not just as simple celebration.
Exactly. Understanding that makes us appreciate the holiday more, think deeper about its meaning.
Okay, so we've looked at the history, how Thanksgiving became a holiday, all those traditions that have grown up around it. We've even touched on some of the controversies, the different ways people see it. What else is there to explore?
Well, we've talked about the communal side of things, but there's also the individual personal experience of Thanksgiving. Let's talk about Thanksgiving travel, the family gatherings, and how it all kicks off the holiday season.
For a lot of people, Thanksgiving means family, getting everyone together, even if it means traveling across the country.
Definitely one of the busiest travel times of the year. Airports packed, highways jammed, everyone going home to be with their families.
It's like a giant homecoming.
It is. Really shows how important family is to the whole Thanksgiving tradition. And speaking of traditions, Thanksgiving kind of kicks off the whole holiday season, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, right after Thanksgiving, bam, Black Friday. Biggest shopping day of the year. And then it's just a straight line to Christmas and New Year's.
Thanksgiving's like that bridge between fall and the winter holidays. Time for gratitude, reflection before we get to all the December craziness.
I like that, the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
But before we finish up our look at Thanksgiving, I want to go back to that idea of reflection. We've talked about the history, the different ways people see the holiday. What are some of the big takeaways? What should Thanksgiving make us think about?
Well, it makes us think about our relationship with the land, right, and all that it provides. It reminds us to remember our history, the good and the bad, and to recognize that fight for justice, for equality, it's still going on.
So it's more than just food and football. It's a day to think about some really big things: history, culture, our place in the world.
You got it. And on a more personal level, I think Thanksgiving encourages us to be grateful, to appreciate the little things, the people we love, the chances we have.
That's a great way to put it. Gratitude, reflection, connection. And yeah, some delicious food and fun traditions mixed in there too.
It's a holiday that means something special to Americans, and for good reason. It's a time to be together, to remember, and to give thanks.
I gotta say, I learned a lot exploring Thanksgiving with you. From Spanish explorers holding a Thanksgiving mass to the president pardoning a turkey, it's a holiday full of surprises.
It was great breaking down all those layers of history and tradition, all the different perspectives. Thanksgiving has a really fascinating story.
It really does. And as Thanksgiving gets closer this year, I think we've all been given a lot to think about. How are we going to honor the traditions, recognize the complexity, and really live that spirit of gratitude?
Those are some good questions to ask yourself as you gather with your loved ones, watch the parades, and enjoy that Thanksgiving meal. Take some time to think about what it means to you. What are you thankful for? How are you going to show that this year?
That's a perfect thought to end on. Thanks for being with us as we went through the history and traditions of Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.